Oke, kita mulai. Nanti saya mulai dengan ini ya. Kita coba ya, mulai ya.
Yeah.
Oke. Bula Vinaka everyone. Hello Olgeta. Wah, wah, wah. Welcome to our Morning Star, an exhibition commemorating 60 years of resistance, unity, struggles, and our quest for freedom and independence for West Papua. My name is Rosa Moywen. I'm from West Papua, and I'm honored to have Octo Mote, an established West Papuan journalist, academic, and writer. Octo Mote is a West Papuan leader based in the USA and was the former Secretary General of the United Liberation Movement for West Papua. Welcome, Octo. Welcome to our conversation this afternoon.
Bula Finaka for these great opportunities, and I thank you for Young Solowara for organizing this great venue in this moment, and I really honored to be participate in this talk with you guys.
Thank you. Octo, as a West Papua leader, please share with me and many of our young Solwara members in this exhibition about yourself. How did you become involved in West Papua movement? And please draw us back to your earliest engagement or involvement in your activism for West Papua. Please, Octo.
Yes, thank you. I born in Highlands from a family that my father was Dutch policeman, and then he actually, when he was young, joined with other friends, welcome Catholic priests, and introduced to the elders, and all them accept the Catholics. And I'm a young son from four of us, and my older brother became Catholic priest. And when I was very young age, witnessing Indonesian invasion, I vividly remember when Indonesia arrived in our village, and then it was really start with the war, because our village leaders, they don't welcome them, and I also witnessing the act of no choice, how they manipulated, and its implication in our village once Indonesia invade our land. I see how they start to destroy our village by capturing all the bird using nets, and they brought back to Indonesia. And not only that, orchard and all the beautiful flowers from the village, they took everything out of our village. And that's a very young age, I vividly remember. And then, their behavior to our people that moment. And especially when I was at the boarding school in Jayapura, the capital city of West Papua, where also other students from many parts of West Papua come in that same place, they share same stories. And so that's a very young age I experienced those stories, and know certainly that Indonesia is brutal colonial. We witnessing from the in a middle school boarding house in Abepura in Jayapura, the military personnel kill our Papuans villages from the gardens behind the Abe Gunung, Abe Hill, behind our boarding. They put them in rice bag, like they're hunting, deer or pig from the forest. And that's really make my anger and spirit to fight for justice for our people. And so more when I was in a high school, I witnessing how many other stories, many of Papuan elite have to escape to Papua New Guinea. Some of them even to exile. I was witnessing the Eliezer Bonai, he have to escape, and the night before he escaped, he talked to me and his son, who's my classmate. Um, all of this really empower my spirit of fighting. So therefore, once I study political science and I work as a journalist, that way I can work through writings, but also underground movement with my colleagues, John Rombiak. He traveled abroad, he talked in international. I was working in Jakarta as a journalist, back and forth to West Papua with other friends in West Papua. Now I cannot mention because they're still alive. We work together, until the Indonesian presidents fall, and once the opportunities for Papuans exercise their right, political right. I was bureau chief Kompas Daily, the biggest daily in Indonesia in West Papua. So I used my position to interview West Papuans leaders and unifying all the leaders to really prepare ourselves to try to negotiate with the central government. And I'm so pleased that in that moment, the West Papuan's governor, Freddie Nomberi, and the Speaker of the Parliament, intellectuals, church, all of us, all of these leaders, willing to cooperate together. And so that's the beginning of we start unifying everyone, not judge one to another. And then I was able to facilitate the unity among the 100 Papuans that was prepared to talk with the Indonesian president. And in the palace, the Papuans exercised their right, and they said, we want to be free before we extinct from our land. And then right after that, Indonesian government reject that peaceful movement. They kill many Papuans leaders, but the movement doesn't stop there. Papua President Council form, and Congress, West Papuan Congress. 2000 was really key moment in a movement where we our leaders agree that we will fight in a peaceful way through dialogue, and TPN OPM joined together in that movement. And this movement ups and down, many leaders killed, and then the Congress of Peace Congress, organized by Fareneles, another awakening, elect 5 of us in exile to be a negotiator. So I was chairing these 5 Papuan leaders in exile. We try approach Indonesia so many ways. I think it's around 5 years, but fail. And so we then form United Liberation Movement. I think for the first time ever in the West Papuan history that we form such a organization. Before, of course, there's a WPNCL, but the way the leadership and the representation was not as good as this one. And also because of the style of the leadership is open, welcoming everyone. And so the LMWP become the key organization that represent West Papuans independence movement. So yes, that's my role, and both as a journalist and then mediator with the Indonesian government in 1998, 1999. And then I spent a lot of time in the US Congress to do lobby. I organized a couple of hearings here in the US Congress, traveling in Europe and many parts of the world. I play a lot of role as a mediator among the Papuans leadership and trying to bring them together to fight together.
Thank you. Thank you, Octo. Um, Another question I have that this year we commemorate 60 years of when the first time Morning Star flag was first raised in West Papua. Since then, there have been forced migration of West Papuans, many living in exile and thousands murdered, women raped and families broken. In other words, this is the evidence of 60 years of Indonesia's colonizations, human rights abuse, and violence on West Papuans. What is your message of resistance as we commemorate 60 years in this struggle?
I always admire the resistance movement of West Papuans people. You know, in my experience as a journalist, when I travel to all part of West Papua, as well as in abroad, I talk to Papuans people. One thing is clear, like Jewish people, they know certainly that one day, they will be free. In Jewish people, always telling the story uh, of that promised land up till now, and believe, and that's what I see in West Papuans, whom I admire a lot, even though uh, many times happen that our leaders, instead of focus on facing enemy, many times fighting each other. But one thing is clear, that everybody so fighting for independence. And then the leadership always change from one ethnic group to another. So I see like a dancing of the leadership. One die, another will come up, and without the scare, they willing to sacrifice their life. I think this is the spirit and belief that one day we will be free. That's not some things that we get by education, that every Papuans have that in their heart, means the Lord put there. And if Lord is put there, that will be fulfilled. So I think that that's our strength, and we will fight, and I'm pretty sure we will win this battle. Um, so I think we just keep moving. There are two things that we have to always manage. One is the structure, organization. We have to organize such a way so that recognize each and every one and working together. And second is really maintain, mobilize and maintain unity among our ordinary Papuans, with a very clear agenda. Uh, and if we stick with that, avoid conflict of interest among us, we will win this battle.
Okay, thank you. I still have one more question. Oh no, two more questions. For Pacific regionalism, the issue of West Papua's right to self-determination and concerns of Indonesia's human rights abuse and violations of West Papua has been an agenda for the Pacific. Since 2000, West Papua has featured on our Pacific leaders' agenda. What is your appeal for solidarity to our Pacific leaders?
First of all, I would like to thank you very, very much for Pacific Islanders, both the leaders as well as the Pacific peoples, ordinary peoples, chiefs, NGOs, church. Um, and I particularly thank you for the young generation like young Solwara. In my 3 years leadership, I'm encountered in many islands, the networks, the leaders come out of young Solwara. When I was traveling to Micronesia, for example, my key people contact are young Solwara, as well as in a Polynesian side of islands. And I see so many, the relation between Papuans and the Pacific Islands never really cut off by, colonial power. We West Papuans participate in very historical moment in Pacific Islands when colonial form Pacific Island countries um, way back then in early 50s. West Papuans delegation attended that meetings because the Dutch already start to preparing West Papua to be independence, and uh, it was the first nation supposed to be independence um, back then, and then West Papuans also we participate in formation of Pacific Island uh, Council of Churches, um, and so we always part of Pacific Island communities. And then our people, so many West Papuans who flee to Papua New Guinea from there, they travel all the way to islands and through church activities, through NGOs, West Papuans always there. So the leaders, these people already built like awareness, persistence, and also in many universities. And so I recognized that, and I capitalized when I was leading it by empowering all the group that exists there and work with them. And uh, I really appreciate each and every one of them. I share with them our vision. I explain whatever question they have. So West Papua issue become Pacific issue. And secondly, when I come to the Pacific Island leaders, I really appreciate, first of all, to Melanesian leader who really facilitate us to unify ourselves and apply for membership. And that's where our beginning. And once we become a member, I really admire and appreciate the leadership of uh, Prime Minister of Solomon Island, Manasseh Sogofare, who is a strong leadership. And through the support from Melanesia, I traveled to all Pacific Island countries, and all are supportive. Of course, Fiji and Australia has a very tight relation, but I know both position, and I don't have a problem with them. But because I have the rest of a Pacific island with us, so therefore, when the Pacific Island united through the Pacific Island Coalition, PICWIP, we formed in Honiara. Uh, that's where I feel like really I'm back home. And, one of the bishop in West Papua, former bishop, is already passed away, Herman Moninghoff. Before he left, to Netherlands, he said, uh, you have to look east, don't look west. And I think that message is fulfilled when I was leading. And so I really, really admire and respect the Pacific Island leaders, where Indonesia tried to bribe them. Indonesia tried to give so many, money, but our leaders in these regions they can very clear. They make a distinction between the human rights issue cannot be bought by money, and the integrity of the leaders is there. And that's all also in the church, in the NGOs, so I'm always confident Pacific is based from Pacific. We jump to Caribbean, Africa, Latin America, and Europe. And so I think young Solwara really just keep continue what you have been doing in the past, so that this, because the political leader also always change. Pacific Island Forum Secretariat has also changed, and so I think it is important to really refresh those experience to fight together, because in our region, beside West Papua, there is a Kanak, there is a Tahiti, and so there is a three nation that still fight. And among the three nations, West Papua is the brutal one. Every day, Papuans are killed. While we are talking, thousands are fleeing in the forest now, and so many are killed. And so I think I really appreciate the former Secretary General of Pacific Island Forum, Mac Taylor, who report to UN Human Rights Council, include West Papua as among three main issues in our region. So I thank you, and I call upon you all. Let's continue, because situation is become worse than when I was leading the movement.
Okay, our last question. We remember those that have gone before us in this struggle for freedom. We acknowledge those that are at the forefront fighting for justice and independence. So, what is your message to our West Papuan people who are still struggling now?
The struggle that we have right now, we can get there this stage because of they willing to put their life. We built cemetery in the air through when we put it in a YouTube and all this social media. That's a cemetery, a life, and I think once we see them, when we really get empowerment by them. I still remember Joan Javeni, for example, in Serui, Indonesian military cut his belly, and he's about to die. This West Papuans who happen to be a mobile brigade interrogate him, making joke to him, but and then he just keeps saying that merdeka, 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 and die. And so many others. Just young boy in Intan Jaya, same thing. And so many example of Papuans who die, we can witnessing. Back then when I was growing up, I cannot see it like that. Now, anytime I can click, Google it, and that's really empowered. Their spirit that are in heaven now really empower us. So that's a reality that we are facing. Secondly, the belief that we are not Indonesian. Indonesia colonial, brutal colonial, and therefore we have to fight. There's a spirit of fighting that exists in every West Papuans, and as a Christian and Catholics, I believe that spirit was put by Lord Himself, and as a so therefore I believe that that will fulfill. One day we will be free. That's for sure. Um, so I think what we need to continue is trust one and another, unity among Papuans. We have to bear it, the idea to believe foreigners, better than West Papuans. We really have to trust each other, unity, and then we modify the struggle, the way, the forms, and keep continue. We will win because our young Papuans are amazing. From the time to time, we learning, and we and that's make me, I'm confident with this movement, and we will win one day.
Yes. Thank you, Octo. Terima kasih, Ida Umina. Thank you for being part of this exhibition interview, and thank you for your encouraged words, and thank you for your leaderships. This
Thank
is
you.
very emotional moment, but I want to say thank you, and thank you for everybody who's still fighting for the rights to self-determination. Thank you.
Thank you. Wah, wah,
Wah,
wah.
wah, wah.